Most people don't wake up. They just open their eyes. They roll into the day half alive, half deciding, half committed. But not you. Or at least, not anymore. Because waking up at 5 a.m. isn't some productivity trend or challenge of the week. It's a declaration, a quiet rebellion, a moment where you stop living on default and start leading. It's you telling the world, and more importantly yourself, I'm done waiting, done stalling, done surviving. Now I rise, on purpose. When that alarm rings, it's not just waking you from sleep, it's waking you from distraction, from delay, from every excuse that ever kept you small. See, 5 a.m. is more than time on a clock. It's identity. It's a decision that echoes into everything else you do. It's saying, I refuse to start my day in chaos. Most people roll over. Most people hit snooze. Most people negotiate with mediocrity before their feet ever hit the floor. But not you. Not anymore. You've seen what that kind of life costs. The wasted time. The constant reacting. The feeling that the day controls you instead of the other way around. And maybe for a while, you told yourself that was normal, that it was fine, that someday you'd change, but deep down, you always knew better. Because there's a version of you you haven't met yet, and they don't wake up when the world demands it. They rise on purpose, with purpose. And when they wake up at 5 a.m., they're not just chasing time, they're claiming it. That one decision creates space, space to move, space to think, space to lead instead of follow. You don't need more hours in your day. You need to stop giving them away to comfort and chaos. When you rise before the sun, you're not following a schedule. You're building a standard, one that says, I move when it's hard. I show up when no one's watching. I lead my life. I don't wait for permission. And that mindset, it doesn't just change your mornings. It changes your momentum, your confidence, your trajectory. Because every great transformation starts with one small, consistent choice. And this one, this is yours. So no, this isn't about a trend. It's not about hashtags or hustle culture. It's about reclaiming your fire. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't wait to feel ready. They rise anyway. You're not here to survive your days. You're here to shape them. And that starts with how you wake up. Every morning at 5 a.m. isn't just a routine. It's a rebellion against your old patterns, against your old limits, against every version of you that settled. This is the beginning, the wake-up call you've been waiting for, not from the world, from yourself. Before the world wakes up, there's silence, not just the absence of noise, but a sacred, untouched stillness. It's in this quiet that something powerful begins to shift. Your mind, free from the flood of messages, alerts, demands, and noise, starts to settle. It breathes. It listens. It thinks clearly for the first time in days, maybe weeks. And that clarity, that's where transformation begins. At 5 a.m., your cortisol, the hormone responsible for alertness, is already naturally rising. It's your body's biological design saying, this is the time to move. Aligning your life with this rhythm isn't forcing discipline. It's flowing with biology. Waking up early doesn't make you superhuman. It just puts you back in sync with your nature. The cortisol spike gives you a sharper edge in the morning, not just physically, but mentally. Your mind becomes more focused, more alert, more capable of deep work. This isn't just habit change, it's high-performance living. Most people wake up into stress. The alarm blares. The phone vibrates. Notifications, emails, headlines, chaos before coffee. Their brains are hijacked before their thoughts even have a chance to form. But when you rise early, when you sit in the stillness of the pre-dawn hours, something sacred happens. You get to choose your first thought, your first breath, your first emotion. You lead instead of being led. In that silence, your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, focus, and decision-making, starts to activate without competition. You're not distracted, you're not scattered, you're fully present. That's when long-term thinking becomes possible. That's when you start to ask real questions. Where am I going? What matters? What needs to change? And more importantly, who do I need to become to get there? Silence is not empty, it's full of answers. But you'll never hear them if you're always drowning in noise. The world doesn't give you space for deep thought. You have to carve it out. And 5 a.m., that's your chisel. It's your window to reflect, to breathe, to write, to pray, to stretch, whatever anchors you to yourself. You begin to notice patterns in your emotions, in your reactions, in your thoughts. You begin to see the distance between stimulus and response. And in that space, you find power. You find peace. You find presence. That's the real advantage of waking up early. Not just more hours, but better hours, focused hours, clear hours. This quiet time builds mental resilience. You're no longer reactive. You're intentional. You don't just jump into your to-do list. You start with your who. And over time, that presence multiplies. It leaks into your work, your conversations, your choices. You stop living on autopilot. You start designing your days and your future with clarity and control. That's the science of stillness. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, but it sharpens you in ways chaos never could. The first few mornings feel electric. You wake up early, maybe for the first time in years, and there's a spark, excitement, adrenaline, a sense that change is finally happening. But give it a few days, and reality sets in. The novelty fades, your bed feels heavier, your old patterns start whispering, just skip today. That's the test. That's the moment most people quit, because they thought this would be a quick fix. Not a full-on identity shift, but this isn't about willpower, it's about rewiring. And real rewiring doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition, especially when it's hard. 90 days isn't some magic number. It's the minimum time your brain needs to unlearn one identity and step into a new one. You're not just changing a schedule, you're changing who you believe you are. The science is clear. Habits shape the neural pathways in your brain. Every time you take an action, wake up at 5 a.m., move your body, sit in silence, you reinforce a circuit. Do it once, it's a spark. Do it for a week, it's a thread. Do it for 90 days, it becomes a cable strong enough to carry a new identity. That's why it matters. Because those early wins feel good, but they don't last. What lasts is the identity you construct through relentless consistency. For most people, that identity is fragile. It breaks the moment things get uncomfortable. They think missing a day means they've failed. But here's the truth. Missing a day isn't failure. Staying down is. You will fall. You will miss. You will have moments where the old version of you tries to take the wheel. But the difference now, you don't hand it over. You bounce back faster. That's progress. That's power. The 90-day threshold is your rite of passage. It's where the old habits, the snoozing, the excuses, the passive living start to die. And the new you, the one who wakes up with purpose, who leads instead of reacts, who builds instead of waits, that version begins to take shape. Not in one dramatic moment, but in 100 quiet ones. Alone, in the dark, when no one's watching, but you still show up. Transformation isn't glamorous. It's not loud. It's subtle, invisible. At first, even boring. But stay the course, and it begins to leak into everything. How you speak, how you carry yourself, how you make decisions. Because when you conquer your mornings, you stop needing the world to push you. You've built your own engine. So don't chase hype. Don't expect fireworks. Expect friction. And walk through it anyway. Because when you hit day 90, and you will, you won't just look different. You'll be different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. And the person who comes out on the other side, they don't fall back. They rise. Every morning, a battle begins long before your feet hit the ground. It's silent, internal, ruthless, and it happens between your ears. One voice tells you to rise, the other begs you to stay. Your bed, still warm and soft, becomes a battleground, and comfort is the enemy in disguise. It whispers with charm, you deserve more sleep. It's okay, just today. You can try again tomorrow, but that voice isn't trying to protect you, it's trying to contain you. Comfort is not your friend. It's the cage you have to fight your way out of. The war isn't against your alarm clock. It's not against time. It's not even against tiredness. It's against the belief that your feelings get to decide how your day begins. And that belief, it's the anchor that's been holding you back. The truth is brutal, but freeing. You will never always feel like getting up. Discipline isn't built on feelings. It's built in defiance of them. Every time you rise when your mind says no, you are telling your nervous system, I decide now. Not comfort, not emotion. Me. Most people don't lose the war because they're lazy. They lose because they listen to the wrong voice. The voice that wants relief instead of growth. That wants ease over expansion. That wants the pillow more than the purpose. But you don't win by feeling ready. You win by rising anyway, by making the decision once and then defending it every morning. Think of it like training a dog. If you keep giving it treats every time it whines, it never learns who's in charge. Your mind is no different. When you keep rewarding the part of you that wants to delay, to snooze, to quit, that part gets stronger. But when you interrupt the pattern, when you break the loop and say, get up, even when it hurts, you're building a new alpha inside. Your mattress will always feel more inviting than your purpose until you give your purpose more power. That power doesn't come from hype. It comes from habits. Habits that say, I rise, no matter how I feel. That mindset becomes armor. You wake up tired, you still move. You wake up discouraged, you still move. You wake up questioning everything, and you still move. This is where self-respect is born, not in motivational videos, not in dreams or intentions, but in action taken against resistance. Every time you pull yourself out of bed when you don't want to, you earn a piece of your power back. You stop being a servant to how you feel and start becoming a leader over who you are. That's the shift. That's how you win the war with comfort, not once, but daily, until the battlefield becomes familiar, until your body no longer negotiates with weakness, until getting up isn't a fight, it's just who you are. And when that happens, you don't just wake up early, you wake up unstoppable. At 5 a.m., the world is quiet, and that silence is your secret weapon. No distractions, no demands, no noise fighting for your attention. Just space, space to move, to breathe, to build momentum before the world even wakes up. And that's the point. You don't just wake up early to add another hour to your day. You wake up to own it before it owns you. The first hour after you rise is sacred. It's not about cramming productivity in before sunrise. It's about establishing control. When you move your body first thing, a workout, a walk, a stretch, you're signaling to your brain, we're not dragging today, we're leading. That movement breaks the fog. It activates blood flow, sharpens focus, and tells your nervous system, we're alive, we're ready. Then comes the mind. In a world that floods you with opinions and urgency, your mind needs protection. That's why meditation, even 5 minutes, is a weapon. It teaches you how to pause, how to choose your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. It's not about becoming Zen overnight. It's about gaining control over the chaos before it even begins. Next, you feed the mind. Reading a few pages, something empowering, something challenging, upgrades your operating system. It's not about how many pages. It's about entering the day with wisdom, not just information. You read not to escape the world, but to step into it with an edge. And then, reflection, a journal, a prompt, a question. What matters today? Who do I want to be when stress hits? What promise did I make to myself that I intend to keep? These aren't cheesy exercises, they're anchors. They remind you who you are before the world tells you who to be. That's your 5 a.m. formula. Movement, meditation, reading, reflection. 4 simple pillars, each one a micro win, each one a vote for the person you're becoming. And when you stack those wins first thing in the morning, you're not just checking boxes, you're building momentum. You're telling your brain, your body, your spirit, we don't wait for life to happen, we initiate it. And here's the magic. That momentum spills over. The clarity you found in silence walks with you into every meeting. The discipline you practiced in waking up sharpens your decisions. The emotional regulation you trained in meditation keeps you calm when stress arrives. The intention you set on paper becomes the compass that steers your entire day. Most people spend the first hour of their day reacting to texts, to emails, to chaos. But you create, you lead, you start with intention. You win the first hour, and when you win the first hour, you win the war. Your 5 a.m. routine doesn't have to be perfect. It has to be yours, tailored, focused, grounded, not about doing more, but about doing what matters most first. Because in that hour, you don't just prepare for the day, you command it. And over time, that command becomes your character. And that character, that's what changes everything. You weren't meant to wake up exhausted. That fog in your head, the heavy limbs, the midday crash, that's not just life, that's imbalance. It's the product of a chaotic rhythm, a sleep cycle ruled by screens, stress, and staying up late chasing dopamine instead of purpose. But when you start rising early, when you meet the morning before the world does, your biology begins to shift. And it's powerful. See, your body is wired for rhythm. It follows the sun, whether you acknowledge it or not. Your circadian rhythm is your internal clock. And when you wake up in alignment with that natural cycle, everything changes. You start sleeping deeper because your body knows it has a reason to rest. Melatonin, the sleep hormone, starts releasing on time. Cortisol, your natural alertness hormone, spikes in the early morning, helping you wake up clear-headed, not groggy. And here's the beautiful part. When you rise at 5 a.m. consistently, your body adapts. You don't need 10 alarms. You don't need 3 coffees to function. Your sleep becomes restorative. Your energy becomes stable. Your brain stops fighting fatigue and starts focusing on performance. Most people live in survival mode, over-caffeinated, under-rested, chasing motivation in energy drinks and empty hacks. But when you take control of your mornings, you stop playing catch-up with your energy. You're not reactive. You're prepared. You're charged from the inside out. And it's not just physical. Your mental stamina increases. Your willpower reservoir, the fuel you use for decision-making, for discipline, for focus, it fills back up. Because in those early hours, before the noise, you're not draining yourself with distractions. You're building clarity, intention, and strength. Early rising isn't just about time, it's about traction, about rewiring your nervous system to lead instead of lag. You'll notice your mood shift, less anxious, less irritable, more patient. Why? Because your nervous system isn't overwhelmed from the moment you wake. You've created space, and in that space, your brain breathes. Even your digestion improves. Your workouts feel stronger. Your ability to recover, emotionally and physically, sharpens. Because you're no longer working against your biology, you're moving with it. So no, waking up early doesn't just add hours to your day, it transforms the energy within them. You don't just get more done, you do it with more presence, more clarity, more power. This is what most people miss. They think they're tired because they're busy, but often they're tired because they're out of rhythm. When you realign, when you rise with purpose, everything feels different. You don't just live the day, you own it. And that version of you, they don't crash halfway through. They carry momentum from sunrise to sunset because they aren't fueled by caffeine or chaos. They're fueled by alignment. And it all starts when you decide to rise. There's something powerful that happens when you do what you said you would do. Even when no one's watching, you start to build something most people have lost, self-trust. And in a world filled with broken promises, missed goals, and half-kept resolution, that trust, it becomes your superpower. Every time you rise at 5 a.m., even when it's uncomfortable, even when your body begs for comfort and your mind invents excuses, you send yourself a message. I follow through. I keep my word. I lead my life. And that message doesn't just whisper for a day. In you, it echoes. It carves itself into your identity, because that's how identity is formed. Not through what you believe about yourself, but through what you prove to yourself over and over again. Most people walk around with fractured confidence, not because they're weak, but because they've stopped trusting their own intentions. They say they'll start. They say they'll change. They say they'll commit. But when it's time to act, they flinch. They fold. And the brain remembers. The self-doubt grows. And eventually, it's not just a bad habit, it becomes who they think they are. But when you keep the promise, especially when it's hard, you reverse that story. You start writing a new one. You stop being the person who tries. You become the person who does. The kind of person who doesn't need hype to be consistent. The kind of person who wakes up when it's dark, trains when it's cold, works when it's hard, simply because they said they would. That's not just discipline, that's character. And that character, it leaks into everything. Your confidence increases, not from ego, but from evidence. Your emotional resilience sharpens, not because life gets easier, but because you've trained yourself to show up anyway. Your decisions get clearer. Your reactions get calmer, because you've proven to yourself that you're not fragile. You're focused. This is why early rising changes more than your schedule. It rewires your internal compass. You stop looking for motivation. You stop begging for inspiration. You become someone whose actions lead their emotions, not the other way around. Discipline becomes your language, and every morning it speaks louder, because it's not just about the time on the clock. It's about who you're becoming in the process. Every time you rise, you add another brick to the foundation of a new identity. Not the identity built on failure, excuses, or doubt, but one built on follow-through, integrity, and fire. You stop asking, can I do this? You start saying, this is who I am now. And once that shift happens, everything changes, because the greatest thing you gain from waking up early isn't time, it's trust. And once you trust yourself, the world begins to trust you too. Everyone talks about motivation like it's the magic key. Like if you just felt more inspired, more driven, more hyped, everything would change. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Motivation is weak. It's unreliable. It fades. The second life gets uncomfortable. And if your entire routine depends on how you feel when you wake up, you've already lost. The people who win, they don't rely on hype. They rely on systems. They build frameworks that work when feelings don't. Because they know that success isn't about being emotionally high all the time. It's about reducing friction, increasing flow, and making excellence automatic. Think about it. A 5 a.m. alarm doesn't work because it's loud. It works because it triggers a system. You wake, stretch, hydrate, move, reflect. There's no debate, no negotiation, no internal argument about whether or not you feel like it. It's been designed in advance and executed without question. That's the shift from mood-based living to value-based action. From waking up and asking, do I feel like it today? To waking up and knowing, this is who I am, this is what I do. Systems take the guesswork out. They simplify decisions. They conserve willpower. When your shoes are already by the door, when your journal is already on your desk, when your playlist is already queued, your brain doesn't have to fight. You just go. And that's the secret high performers know. The less friction between you and your goal, the more consistently you'll move toward it. You don't need to feel like a warrior if your path is already clear. You just need to walk it. This is where most people get stuck. They think discipline is about being stronger, but often it's about being smarter. About creating an environment that nudges you forward even when your mind wants to pull you back. It's not willpower, it's wiring. Motivation might get you started, but systems keep you going. And once those systems are built, once your identity is wrapped around them, you no longer need a pep talk to do the work. You are the work. You don't chase the feeling. You become the type of person who moves regardless. That's freedom, not in the absence of structure, but in the presence of one that serves your purpose. So stop chasing motivation. Start engineering your environment. Stop trying to get fired up every day. Start building habits so strong that even on your worst day, you still show up, still win, still rise. Because hype fades. But systems, they carry you through resistance, through doubt, through fatigue, until one day you look around and realize this isn't effort anymore. It's just who you are. Not every morning will feel like a victory. Not every day will begin with fire. There will be alarms you snooze, days you slip, mornings when your mind screams louder than your discipline, and that's okay, because this journey, it's not about perfection, it's about persistence. You're going to mess up, you're going to fall short, but that moment when you miss a day is not the end. It's part of the process. It's the resistance training for your soul. It's how the stronger version of you gets built. Not in the easy mornings, but in the days you come back after failing. Because failure isn't final, it's feedback. It's the mirror that shows you where the weakness lives, so you can confront it, sharpen it, grow from it. Most people let one bad day become a bad week. One missed morning turns into 5, and before they know it, they're back to 0, rewriting the same excuse-riddled story they've always told. But not you. You're going to do something different. You're going to learn how to bounce back, fast. Start with the journal. Write about what happened. Not to judge yourself, but to understand. Capture the pattern. Capture the feeling. Put it on the page so it doesn't sit in your head poisoning your momentum. The journal isn't just a record. It's a reset button. Next, set the night before in motion. Don't wait until morning to decide if you're committed. Lay out your clothes, prep your space, cue your alarm and make it loud. Make the decision in advance. Because when the mind is tired, preparation becomes your anchor. And if you can, get accountability. Tell someone what you're doing. Show them your track record. Or better yet, build a scoreboard you can see, a wall calendar, a checklist, a promise on paper. Because when the brain sees progress, even small progress, it's harder to quit. You're not weak because you missed a morning. You're not broken because you struggled to rise. That's part of the weight. That's part of the training. And every time you choose to get back up, every time you decide I'm not done, your spirit gets stronger. Resilience is a skill. Bounce back is a skill. And like any skill, it's trained through repetition, through falling down and standing anyway. So don't fear the fight. Expect it, respect it, use it. Because the battle you're in right now, that's what's building you. Not in the glory, not in the perfect streaks, but in the stumbles, the slips, the stillness that follows failure, and the decision to begin again. You don't lose when you fall, you lose when you stop trying to rise. So rise, even if your hands shake, even if your mind protests, even if yesterday was a mess, rise anyway. Because the strongest version of you isn't the one who never struggles, it's the one who never stops showing up. It starts with one alarm, one decision, 1 hour you take back from the world, and suddenly everything begins to shift. You don't notice it right away. At first, it just feels like waking up earlier. Like you're tired, moving through the fog, unsure if this is really doing anything, but give it time, and the ripple begins. The first thing to change is your mind. Not just what you think, but how you think. There's more space in your head now, more clarity, less rush, less noise. You're not waking up to chaos anymore. You're waking up with control, and that control, it seeps into everything. You walk into your work differently, you're sharper, more focused. You're not playing defense all day. You're leading. You don't get buried under tasks. You organize them. You don't react to problems. You respond with calm, collected energy. That first hour gave you the edge. While the rest of the world was sleeping, you were strategizing. That matters. And then your body follows. You move more, breathe deeper. Your meals aren't rushed junk between tasks. They're fuel. Your workouts aren't an afterthought. They're a priority. Sleep becomes something you honor, not abuse. You start treating your body like someone you actually care about, because that's what discipline does. It wakes up your self-respect. But it doesn't stop there. Your relationships shift too. You're more present, more grounded. You listen deeper. You don't snap as easily. You're not dragging stress from a messy morning into every interaction. You've already handled your internal world, so you show up better in the external one. You stop settling for shallow. You want deeper, deeper conversations, deeper purpose, deeper alignment with who you are and who you're becoming. Even your environment feels different. The clutter bothers you more. The distractions lose their grip. You find yourself reaching for books instead of your phone. You crave silence more than noise. You make space, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because waking up early doesn't just give you more time, it gives you better time. Time where your energy is clean, your thoughts are focused, your intentions are fresh. And when you stack enough of those mornings, they start building a foundation for something bigger than routine. They build rhythm, momentum, direction. It's like throwing a stone into still water. The splash is small, barely noticeable. But the ripples, they touch everything. They spread outward in ways you never expected. That one stone, that one 5 a.m. wake up affects your decisions, your focus, your energy, your impact. And the most powerful part? You did it. You created the ripple. You didn't wait for life to hand you better conditions. You built them. You earned them. You led yourself into alignment, and everything else began to follow. That's the power of 5 a.m. It's not just a time. It's a catalyst for better. Everywhere. Day one was a fight. You didn't want to get up. Your bed was warm, the world was still asleep, and everything in you whispered, just 5 more minutes. But something stronger whispered back, not today. So you rose, groggy, aching, uncertain, but you rose. Then you did it again, and again, and again. And now, it's day 91. Look at you. This isn't just about waking up early anymore. This is about the kind of person you've become. The version of you standing here today doesn't need motivation. They are movement. They don't chase discipline. They embody it. You've stopped breaking promises to yourself. Your word means something now, especially when no one else hears it. You're calmer, sharper, stronger. You walk different, talk different, breathe different, because you're no longer reacting to life. You're designing it. You don't wake up and wonder what the day will hand you. You wake up and hand the day your terms. And that power, it didn't come from a book or a podcast or a quote. It came from 90 days of proving again and again that you could rise. Not because you felt like it, but because you said you would. That's what transformed you. You didn't just build a routine, you built a reputation set with yourself. And now every room you enter, every challenge you face, every decision you make, you carry that reputation like armor. You've earned your own respect, and that changes everything. This isn't just a life you live, it's a life you lead. You're not a passenger anymore. You're the author. You write the chapters now, with consistency, with courage, with clarity. And the old version of you, the one who snoozed alarms, made excuses, broke momentum with, I'll start tomorrow, they're gone. Not because they disappeared overnight, but because you outworked them, you outlasted them, and in their place stands someone undeniable, someone who wakes up for life, not just to survive, but to lead. So here's the truth. You don't need another 90-day challenge because this isn't a challenge anymore. It's your lifestyle. It's not something you force. It's who you are now. You've unlocked something permanent. Not perfection, but power. Not hype, but harmony. Not a temporary spark, but a lasting flame. You've built a life you don't want to escape from, a rhythm that makes sense, a self you're proud to meet every morning. This is day 91. And the beautiful thing is, it's just the beginning. This is it. No more thinking, no more planning, no more waiting for the perfect time. You already know what needs to happen. Now it's about who's actually going to do it. Because your alarm isn't just a noise, it's a choice, a test, a mirror. It asks you the same question every morning. Are you still making excuses, or are you becoming who you said you'd be? You don't need hype. You don't need motivation. You need movement. Pick a date. Set the alarm. And when it rings, don't negotiate. Don't reach for comfort. Don't wait for clarity. Don't look for someone to believe in you. Just rise. Because the truth is, no one's coming to save you. Not at 5 a.m., not at 5 p.m., not ever. It's on you. It's always been on you. And if you can do this, and if you can win that first battle of the day consistently, the rest of your life begins to bend in your direction. It doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the dark, quiet, unnoticed, one morning at a time, one rep at a time, one yes at a time. This isn't about productivity hacks. It's about proving to yourself that you're not a prisoner of your past. You're not a servant to your emotions. You're not a slave to your mood. You're a force, a builder, a finisher, a leader. And leaders lead themselves first, before the sun, before the noise, before the rest of the world even opens its eyes. Your future is waiting, but it won't chase you. It's moving at 5 a.m. Will you meet it?
If you're ready to stop talking and start transforming, this is the moment. Pick your date, set your alarm, and when the time comes, answer. Answer with action. Answer with grit. Answer with a version of you, the old you wouldn't even recognize. Because what begins as a challenge becomes a habit, and what becomes a habit becomes your identity. And your identity, that shapes your destiny. This is your reset button, your starting line, your quiet revolution built not on big speeches, but on small, repeated decisions that compound into power. You want a different life? It's not in the scroll. It's not in the next video. It's in the morning that starts tomorrow. So rise, lead, transformation. And if you're ready to stay locked in for more content like this, subscribe now, not for entertainment, but for accountability, for evolution, for the version of you that doesn't quit. This isn't just another channel. This is a call to rise. See you at 5 a.m.